Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dante kakiao na wagumagantik, igwan nitotentik, sikonachak na sigasun. I'm coming to you from the prairies in the Treaty 6 territory, and today my guest is Coach Evan. Hello, Coach Evan. How are you today?
Good, how are you? Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come onto the show and really just share my story as an Indigenous person itself and what I love to do.
Okay, Coach Evan, I'm going to tell you something right now. I have the not so amazing Wi-Fi, so I may experience lag. When you see me not talking, then just keep talking. Or sometimes I get X'd out because of my Wi-Fi, so then I just put myself back in. And if you're talking, then there's nothing wrong with the recording or anything on in the live end of Facebook. So I just thought I would let you know also that this is edited for Spotify or 7 different podcast platforms like
Awesome.
Google Podcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast. Yeah, wherever you can find a podcast, that's where Spring Spirit Nation can be found. So, Coach Evan, coming back to you. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Just to kind of explain who I am. I'm turning 21 in April. I am from Chippewas of Georgina Island, which is part of the Williams Treaty. There's 5 nations, and it's basically Lake Simcoe and the Huron area, so around Barrie, Aurelia area in Ontario. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, I keep myself very simple, very humble. Uh, I've grown up in London, Ontario. I do a lot of work when it comes to health and fitness. The goal, the reason I wanted to become a coach is to help people and, be in control of my life because for a lot of time, I kind of felt like I was lost. And I feel like a lot of people understand that. Um, Maybe not necessarily the same situations or same life experience, but there's times in life where you kind of just feel lost or you feel like you're at the mercy of someone else. And I feel that doing what I do allows me not only to, help myself, but in those experiences that I've, faced, things I've learned, be able to help others to allow them to live their best life, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
I keep myself very
Okay.
simple.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's great. So,
part of the reason
why Evan?
why I became a coach simply is I wanted to make sure that when it comes to Indigenous people, I know that we've faced a lot of stuff in the past. I know we all have our different stories of creation, where we're from, but I feel which is kind of how society is gone. It's become with food so processed and that is so kind of removed from what we as Indigenous people have eaten for centuries. And the way I kind of want to coach is to bring that back, allow us to go back to our traditional foods, but allow it to have a greater understanding of with this day and age's understanding of how the body works, put those two together, be able to really make it understandable so that people have a wider understanding. Like it's worked for our people for centuries. Let's delve in and explain how and how we can get back to that in an easy to do lifestyle in a present busy day. So I keep it very simple. I just wanted to help people because I've
Mm-hmm.
struggled with stuff in my life, and I feel that becoming a coach, not only do I understand how things work, but I make it as simple as possible, and I make it not just about me, but about we communicating with people and allowing them to first off tell me their story in their words
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up myself with not being told kind of allowing yourself to express yourself. Or people didn't ask me, what is your story, where you're from. They just kind of assumed that I was indigenous and that's all they left it at. But I feel that there's so much more
Mm-hmm.
to our story of where we come from. And it's important to be able to vocalize that and allow people to really understand who you are. And that's what I try to do with my coaching at the same time. Yeah, I
Right.
don't know.
So
Keeping
I
it
have a
simple.
question about where Coach Evan came from. Coach Evan, I understand you're from a place called Georgina Island.
Yes.
And I know when we were creating this show, I had to Google where Georgina Island was. And now this is really weird because you say you're from the Williams Treaty.
Hmm.
And I teach Native Studies and Indigenous Studies. And I'm like, where is Georgina Island? So before we go any further, tell us about Georgina Island.
So basically, Georgina Island is a tiny island in Lake Simcoe. So it's one of the biggest kind of watersheds in Ontario. And with that, it's basically our people had a lot of area in central Ontario. And then they were forced
Mm-hmm.
kind of to the reserve as their only option to farm and whatnot through the government of Ontario and the federal government. And basically, that's kind of where we've been ever since, trying to build community to really make us, you know, focused on who we really are so that we don't forget that. But we are kind of connected with different bands that make up the Williams Treaty. And
Mm-hmm.
so we try to make sure that we kind of don't lose that community aspect to it because we're all connected as Indigenous people,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's from Vancouver or Nova Scotia. You can see it as earlier that we all are connected. It all goes back to, just being the first peoples of this land and taking care of it. And that's where I personally feel our people are rooted, just taking care of the land, respecting it, and being an advocate for it when other people seem to not so do so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I just
I
find
don't
it so
know.
intriguing
It's very unique, and
that you're from an
it,
island.
really a lot of people never ever ask, and that's it's so awesome to be able to kind of explain that a little bit. Because, like I said, it's all about kind of the journey, the story, and no one really ever asks or even really knows of where it is. An example. So I appreciate being able to explain that a little bit for you.
That's wonderful. Now, according to your website, Nishbot, it says that you were inspired in fitness at a very young age. Now, um, did you attend school on the reservation
No.
on Georgina
So
Island?
for me, it's I'm from there, but I've been back, but it's
Mm-hmm.
very much focalized where I've kind of grown up in the city. So I'm kind of
Mm,
what they call the urban indigenous, where it's kind of you're connected to a reserve, but you kind of don't live there. And if I do, it's very independently where I go see family, which is around that area. Um, and so when it comes to that, I feel that there is a very weird divide. It's like I'm indigenous, but like people don't see me as indigenous because I live in the city as much. They kind of equate, you know, it all back to a reserve and blah blah blah. When I'm still indigenous, I still have values, I still have my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings. And yes, I live in a
mm-hmm.
city, so it's a different kind of atmosphere, but that doesn't take away from being from Georgina Island itself.
Wonderful. Overcoming barriers then in the city, being an Indigenous person, and how has that catapulted you into the business that you're in now?
So when it comes to kind of overcoming some barriers in my life, it was obviously number one being racism, like even presently. So with the quarantine, with things being shut down, I had gone out for necessities at a local kind of grocery store, and they have arrows to
Mm-hmm.
follow direction of kind of keeping it quarterly and systematic like system to make it easy, so less contact. I had gone in to grab apple juice at the end of the aisle because that's what I have in my program for myself, and this
Mm-hmm.
lady just out of nowhere kind of like started yelling at me and raising her voice and then told me to go back to my own country. And that's just the most recent
Mm.
example. And we're in 2021. We talk about, having progressed so far, but why is that still happening? And that's kind of part of the reason why I became a coach, in a sense, is
Mm-hmm.
to hopefully not only help our elders with mobility, being able to, enjoy life without the aches and pains, but also specifically our youth. Our youth have so much potential in this world. And I feel that from my own experience and from what I've heard from others, good friends, people in society kind of deem us as Indians or just indigenous people, can't accomplish anything, can't do this, blah, 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 lazy. And it
Mm-hmm.
really comes down to me that no, I went out of my way. I put a lot of time into what I've built. How can I help people? But I want to be able to give back to the community, to our people. And if I can be an inspiration as such, being on the show or doing things for local reserves or my reserves specifically, which are in the works right now, um, I want to be there to show our youth not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. And if they
Mm-hmm.
have questions, not to be afraid, because there have been times in my business and my life where I was like, I don't know what to do or how to do it, and I feel people are judging me. And at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to say that doesn't matter. I want to do what I want to do. I'm going to chase my dreams. It may not always be easy, but I will ask for help from the right people and I will make it work. It's all about taking action. And I want to kind of be an advocate for that, for our youth specifically.
Right. So I was at a town where they have a mall, and I was walking through this mall, and I noticed that they had health programs for their elderly. Now, this was a
Mm-hmm.
non-indigenous community, and I seen so many elderly people have access to fitness outside of the reserve. This is unreal because our people right now are, especially during the pandemic, are immobile and they're at home. They do try to get out and get a little exercise, but it's really icy out there. Do you offer services for the elderly?
Not specifically, but I do, in a general sense, talk about different things they can do. Um, it really comes down to there's nothing like, in my opinion, a magical trick. Uh, as
Mm-hmm.
you age, yes, things change with the body, bones, joints, those things tend to kind of change from when you're 20, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it really comes down to just getting active, going for
Mm-hmm.
walks, walking upstairs instead of taking the elevator. I'm not going to say, go for a 20-kilometer run. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
that. It's taking the simple steps of just being active, going for a walk. And they have such magical powers, yet it seems so simple. It's, hearing that from anyone, oh, just go for a walk. It really is. It comes down to as you get older, you want to make sure that you're getting the motion and the mobility back of just being able to walk because
Mm-hmm.
as you get older, that's what a lot of your daily activity is walking. And so if you can kind of
Mm-hmm. Walking.
get into that to make it easier, then that will help overall for, as you age.
Okay. So it took me about a year to double the size that I am now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not ashamed to admit that, with this pandemic and, just falling into some very unhealthy patterns like snacking. I never snacked before so much,
Mm-hmm.
and Netflix, watching TV, and things like that. So at the same time, I'm scrolling through Facebook, or just looking for alternatives, or maybe even looking for a coach Evan. What is the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that I can do to reach out to
Honestly,
coach
like
Evan?
the first thing that I would start to do, not even necessarily reach out to a coach. It's you need to know what you need in the first place, and you need to be sound in that decision. So when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
as a tip for like Netflix and snacking, you gotta not check out. I know it's tough being at home. A lot of people work from home; they're sitting all day. But like I said, go for a
Mm-hmm.
walk. But when it comes to snacking and Netflix, set a certain time, like an hour. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to watch a show a day. That's what I do personally. I'm a busy guy. I work with clients all
Mm-hmm.
day. I train myself, but I specifically set time of day for Netflix to relax, to read a book. But when it comes to snacking specifically, you
Mm-hmm.
have to catch yourself. It comes on self-reliance. You're like, I want to lose pounds. I don't want to put on weight. Okay, then I'm not going to be, snacking late at night. I know that says easier said than done, but in reality,
Mm-hmm.
another way you can look at it is instead of having cookies or chips or sodas, you can swap them out with
Mm-hmm.
carrots, celery, and ranch. And what that really does is it kind of helps with the habit of getting a crunchy, sensation, but you're also
Mm-hmm.
lowering the calories, but you're getting the same volume generally. And with that, you're basically helping deal with the hankering of I need the snack, I need to keep my hands busy because I have nothing else to do. But you're also getting some minerals that you wouldn't be getting in such a degree with chips and cookies. It's an alternative, and
Hmm.
it's a benefit, I guess, because even a lot of people don't get the general minerals and nutrients they need.
Right. So I don't know if you know, but I'm situated in Atakakoop in that sort of central Saskatchewan on a reserve.
Mhm.
And the nearest sort of larger urban center is an hour away. And I experienced being on lockdown, with just possible exposure. Test came back negative, by the way, but still, I was locked down for 14, I can't remember, 16 days. And, just the inability to get anywhere to purchase these healthy snacks or healthy foods was
Mhm.
none. It was non-existent. However, my community did provide some type of food delivery, which I really appreciated. In the food, however, there was things like bags of sugar, which I never had in my house before, maybe when I was
Mhm.
younger, and things like that. Maybe, do you have some kind of, if there is people out there that are a part of, the food selection for on reserve band members and what could be healthier than things like sugar or potatoes is another thing that I rarely eat, but I'm getting sacks of potatoes, not so much veggies. What can we tell those
It's
people?
it's one of those things that I would really kind of stress to them that like, hey, I get it. I really appreciate the help. Obviously, that really is great with
Mm-hmm.
the food delivery to start. Um, but you want to have a balanced diet, and I would just tell them like,
Mm-hmm.
did our ancestors eat this stuff? Like, did they eat the starch and the
Mm-hmm.
potatoes and the sugar? The answer is no. And if they did, it was a prime example, maple syrup from trees, which is different than processed sugar. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the same. And so we talk about as communities wanting to go back to traditions and kind of keeping those alive, then let's make those
Mm-hmm.
right choices now when you really don't have an option and be an advocate as a community to put those into those hampers that would go out to members. Another option is I know that's kind of a big jump from what they've been doing. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Comes down to money and everything like that to purchase these things.
Mm-hmm.
And another option is if you're going to still get potatoes and that's what's going to be given to you guys or to help out that way with delivery, comes down to portion
Mm-hmm.
size. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
all relative. If you're used to eating big meals, if you swap things out and you, prime example, put in potatoes, you're still going to eat that amount of potatoes because that's what you're so accustomed to. And that's why,
Mm-hmm.
it really comes down to portion size. And it's huge with just making sure that everything is equal. So if you're having, rice, picking what alternative rice. So rather than white rice, having wild rice, brown rice, those things, but also making sure that when you have the macro breakdown, they match because with different, foods, they're not the same. They may take up the same amount of volume, but they're not the same breakdown nutrition wise. And that's where I feel kind of the miscommunication is with those kind of things. People are accustomed to eating bigger
Mm-hmm.
meals, and so for as soon as you switch something out, they think, oh, I need to have that same amount on my plate because that's what I'm accustomed to. When in reality, they could be eating a lot more
Right.
calories because of the portion of what's on the plate. Therefore, it's a
Right.
continuous thing. It's a cycle, and it's needing to recognize that in order to make any form of change to begin.
So I'm Sequin and I come across your website. I'm going to put your website on here. So I come across your
Mhm.
website and there's information there and it says to contact you if you seek change or need assistance in overcoming barriers. So I'm
Mhm.
on nishbod.com and I talk to you. How what is the process there? Is it like I get to talk to you for 15 minutes and we can decide what is the next road of action?
Well, what that really is it's a platform where it's not pushy. It's if you want to reach out to me,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you want to have some change, you want to have some guidance, then feel free, reach out to me. And what that is it's going to be a 15-minute call, could go longer. I give myself that barrier to really connect with
Mm-hmm.
someone. Um, but it's to talk about who they
Mm-hmm.
are, because who you are matters. As I mentioned earlier in the show, it really comes down to having that connection with the person, knowing where they are, where they've been, and where they're trying to go before you go anywhere into, oh, you need this plan or this is what you need. You need to know the person. And so that's what will be kind of stressed really a
Mm-hmm.
lot in that. And there will be some questions that I would ask that you may go, well, I don't know. And I'll ask again the same question, why? And how. It's because I want to know information about your experience in your own words first before I say anything about what I offer. Because, as we'll probably talk about a little bit later, I'm all about
Mm-hmm.
helping people first. That's what it matters. Treat others the way you'd want to be treated. Would I rather someone grill me with thousands of questions and not want to know who they are? No, I wouldn't like that. So I'm not going to treat someone
Mm-hmm.
that way either.
Right. So I contact you and we talk and you find out where I come from and um, all of that good stuff. Then what is my next step? Like, would it be ultimately up to me to decide if I want to go further? And with your programming, do you have like scheduled calls or how does that look?
So when it comes to that, yes, it's 100% in that person's hand. I'm not going to hound you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be on your, heels about it, because it really has to be the person wanting to make change in the first place. I feel like a lot of coaches in general are all salesy, and at the end of the day, no, that's not what I stand for at all. And it's, do they want to make change? I will help them, yeah, but you need to be able to recognize, like, hey, I need to make a change. I don't necessarily know what to do, so I'm going to go and ask someone who does. And so when it comes to the next steps, there would be, a consultation that would follow, obviously, to give me more information,
Mm-hmm.
health history, those kind of things. But no, it's very simple, very one to one, and I do that because,
Mm-hmm.
just like everyone else, I'm a human being. Like, being on the show, I'm not popular. I'm not some huge star. I'm just me. And I
Mm-hmm.
treat people the same way because that's how I'd hope people would treat me. So I keep it simple.
Right. So I have a son he's very fit, very active, loves single sports like judo and things like that.
Mhm.
um, where was I going with that? Oh, do you have like an age group span of the people that reach out to you?
Generally, it's a lot of like older, middle aged men and women. And the simple reason is because obviously, as you get older, things change. The body, the metabolism changes. And especially with what you do, I work with accountants,
Mm-hmm.
lawyers generally. But they
Mm-hmm.
kind of get to a point going, I'm on the slippery slope. I know it's going to get worse if I don't do something. Let's go get help now.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, it comes down to what I teach a lot of my clients is habit. Like, yes, we talk about nutrition. Yes, we talk about, programming for exercise, those kind of things. But
Mm-hmm.
really, it comes down to habit and mindset. And I say that simply because so many people, so many coaches focus on the objective, the losing weight, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. Don't get me wrong. But I feel that a lot of people don't have tons of money. They want to learn what they need to learn and be able to do it themselves
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of their life. Does that sound pretty accurate? No one wants to be hand over fist paying someone for the rest of their life because they feel they're so deemed
It does.
that they need to have someone else to help them. So I help instill and kind of facilitate the habit and why it's important and how to incorporate that with nutrition and exercise to make it a long term, resolution to the problem that you're facing right now and why you're working with me. As well as when it comes to the mindset, I incorporate that so much because from my own experience, people get in their head. They know what to do, but they then insert their mind and how they feel and the struggles they may experience and say, oh, I shouldn't do that or I can't do this. And they talk to themselves in such a negative way that their problem just continues because they're getting in their way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I take the whole mindset aspect of it to not only just help them overcome, but give them my own experience. Because, like I said, I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
I've had my own struggles.
Right.
To this day, I'm not a perfect human being, but I want to be able to share my own experience to help others. And I feel that there are some principles that
Mm-hmm.
are very important to discuss when it comes to not getting in your own way and your own success.
Right. So my son, he's 18. We hang out a lot, so I talk about him a lot in my shows. I was driving around the city one time, and we saw people running, you know, their morning jog, and it's a rarity out here on the res. And it took me back to a place from my youth when I used to run all the time. I was a cross country skier. I did a lot of stuff. So, what does that say about muscle memory? Oh, and I did tell my son. I said, you know what? I should start running again. And he just looked at me and he said, Mom, it's a lifestyle. And we drove on and it gave me something to think about. It's a style. So when you were talking about habits, in the mind, what can one themselves, like for me, for instance, I'm in my 40s and I'm wanting to run again. Where can I begin?
Honestly, muscle memory is a thing, yes. But as we get age different, it changes. When you're running in your 20s and running in your 40s are similar but different. And so, what I would
Mm-hmm.
recommend personally is to take it slow. Start at the foundation, start at, square one, and slowly build your way
Mm-hmm.
back up. Yes, it may be easier because of the muscle memory, it'll kick in, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to just rely on that and jump steps, because if you jump steps, you may miss a step and it may not
Mm-hmm.
go really well. It's like running upstairs. You take it one step at a
Mm-hmm.
time, because trying to jump 2 3 steps one of these times, it will not go well and you will hit the stairs face first, and no one wants that. Same kind of mindset when it comes to getting back into running. It's awesome, but just kind of deep down, remember, we will get there. We will get back to where we were, but we're not going to jump steps. We're going to take it one step at a time and make sure that we have the proper foundation to sustain what we
Mm-hmm.
want to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Take the proper steps.
Yeah, it's very
I
important.
guess it's motivation to begin with, right? I feel inspired. Nishbot.com, people, if you're watching or if you're watching down the road, it's there in cyberspace. Click on it in your Google search engine or whatever engine that you use, www.nishbot.com. Again, this is Spring Spirit Nation. And you can find me on Spotify and you'll find this show on 7 different podcast platforms once it is up. Like, share, and follow the Spring Spirit podcast. And today we have Coach Evan, where I listen to why Coach Evan became a coach, and that he shared a little bit of where he comes from, the Chippewa of the Georgina Island in southern Ontario. And we talked about overcoming barriers. Evan, this is a chance for you now to talk about your program and give us. I'm just going to read the bottom. Evan is an amateur men's physique competitor and certified personal lifestyles and nutrition coach.
So when it comes to my program, there are simple staples that are kind of in all of my coachings for my clients. But like I said, they all come from different backgrounds. They all have a different journey, and so it's important to know that. But they're very much based on where the person has been, where they are now, and where they're trying to go, and picking the right habit, teachings to teach them but also with the right nutrition, the right exercise programming, wherever they are, what they're trying to achieve, and making sure that it's not just a cookie cutter mentality. It's individualized and with the right habit, kind of topics that we talk about that we help implement so that, it's long term and it's helpful for each individual person, each individual challenge that they may experience because we're both indigenous. We both like to be active, as we've kind of talked about, but challenges I've experienced are not necessarily the same that you experience. But the commonality is, habit. Certain things need to be habit and they cross over. They're different situations, but they're the same middle point that they can come to really kind of
Hmm.
focus on. And that's what I teach. Those simple things that are effective across platform, no matter what you experience, what you're trying to accomplish, they're the focal points because they're so important. And I feel that everyone kind of needs to know them to really be able to take control of their
Hmm.
life, take control of their nutrition, their health, and just, be a better human being. And that's kind of what I try to do and put them all together in a package that helps, teaches, and kind of solves the problem for people for long term.
Hmm. In your opinion, what are three things that Indigenous people can start eliminating from their kitchen
I would
for
say
optimal health?
starting with like pop. I feel like that's number one simply because there's so much sugar. It looks like a brown liquid or an orange liquid. Doesn't matter what brand, doesn't matter kind of where you go. But it all comes down to if you actually take out all the water in it, there are tons and tons of sugar. It's easy to take a sip or go through a couple cans a day. But really, when you look at it, it should terrify you because of how much sugar is put into it. And I don't say
Hmm.
terrify to scare you, but terrify you that the reality is that's how much is actually going into your. Now, everything is in moderation. I'm not saying get rid of it entirely. 100%. We all like to have those days to enjoy a
Hmm.
pop or a beer, whatever. But, you know, you got to realize that there are some things that you may not realize, base level. But if you look into it, that's a lot of sugar going into your body and what sugar can do and, how it affects your body
Hmm.
long term. The second one is, I would say, alcohol, simply because,
Hmm.
once again, sugar alcohols, they're a thing. And also, in reality, if you look at it, alcohol does not really do anything for your body. It is a poison. Your body and your liver have to break it down in order to excrete it. So basically, you're not doing any benefit. Yes, there's good feelings, relaxation, whatever. But on a, getting healthy, taking your health seriously opinion, alcohol is not necessarily a great choice. Now, that's saying, once again, moderation.
Hmm.
Yes, you can enjoy it. Don't get rid of it entirely, but kind of keep track of how much you're actually ingesting. Um, and then third is simply snacky candy thing. The reason I say that is because on a general scale, they are fairly cheap. They're simple, they're easy, and a lot of people turn to them, say, when they're cooking. They go, oh, well, I don't want to have, time to cook, or I don't have time, I'm busy. And they kind of just turn to that. They go, well, I have some Oreos or I'll have some chips. It'll tide me over. When in reality, they should be having, a full meal that has protein, balance of carbs, and a balance of fats. And really, you're not getting that from the snack foods. They're kind of short energy, and therefore you're hungry
Covering the
again
label.
later.
I have these on my kitchen table, and look, they're covered in chocolate. I'm covering the brand of this particular snacky candy because I'm not sponsored by them. No. Well, okay, so if you pick up a snacky candy type thing like this, what is one ingredient in here that we should be aware of and look out for?
I just would say the sugar aspect to it, because it really comes down
Okay.
to, I'm not saying sugar is bad. There are things that have sugar in it, such as maple syrup, that go back to what we, or my people specifically in this area, would have as kind of food. But there are so many things that are in products that people don't read. They just pick up, oh, it's a candy bar, or it's chips, but they never really actively, understand what's in it. And it comes down to a simple principle that I've been taught and what I've learned is if you don't understand what's in the label, or it's a weird
Mm-hmm.
name or doesn't make sense, or you've never heard of it before and really understand what it means, then maybe as a rule of thumb, you should either do your research and find out what it is, talk to someone who knows
Mm-hmm.
more about it, or just don't ingest it. If you don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
don't put it into your body. And I come from a kind of a traditional background of traditional foods. You want to keep things simple, natural,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of foods as well, not only sugar, but there's a lot of fillers, a lot of different things such as dyes or holding the product together or preservatives. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different names for it, but it all comes down to the simple fact it's a preservative. Preservatives are
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily beneficial for your health, and
Mm-hmm.
it's important to know that. And I feel like a lot of people don't read the label of stuff before they put it in their mouth. And so,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to kind of indigenous people and health things such as diabetes, it's even more crucial to know what are in your foods you're eating and not just go
Mm-hmm.
necessarily for the cheapest thing. I know, trust me, I had a diet that I was trying to follow myself of kind of getting me to where I want to be as a coach. But you realize that
Mm-hmm.
things are not so cut and dry. Not everyone is so nice and make it so simple for you. Because I can guarantee you that if you go into your kitchen right now, there will be at least one
Mm-hmm.
thing that you'll read the ingredients and go, I don't know what that is. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it, but I don't know what it does or how it affects my health and my body. And, that's just the reality of today's thing. Things are so processed. Doesn't mean get rid of stuff entirely, but become
Mm-hmm.
informed about it. And that's kind of my three kind of top things I talk about when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
trying to limit, because I feel like they can do, you know, damage to your health quickly. High
Mm-hmm.
amounts of sugar, alcohol, it's a poison. When you like really break it down to the reality, it's not doing anything beneficial for your body. And then just knowing what's in your food will do wonders and keeping things simple.
Mm-hmm.
Simplicity is your friend. If it's got
I
five
like that.
ingredients, great. If it's got 20 and you don't know 15 of them, make an informed choice. Know what's in
Mm-hmm.
it.
Awesome. So I have a question about coffee. I
Okay.
woke up this morning. I have coffee every morning. I'm a teacher. We have got our coffee in our hand all day long. Um,
Okay.
Now, this morning, it just dawned on me, most of my friends are switching to tea or water. So I want to get on this train, but I want to know why people are switching from coffee to tea now.
Well, it's simply just because, really, if I was gonna be honest with you, coffee is good, but if you make it a habit, like I go back to habit, consistent thing, that's a
Yeah.
lot of caffeine because there's caffeine in coffee. And then
Yes.
if you have a soda throughout the day and certain foods or certain beverages, they contain a lot of caffeine. And
Mm-hmm.
having a lot of caffeine is not good. Everything has to be in moderation and balance. Just
Mm-hmm.
as when it's traditional, everything, our spirit, our mind, our body, how we treat other have to be balanced. It comes to the
Mm-hmm.
same principle. And I'm not saying cut out coffee or cut out tea entirely, but water is your best friend, especially if
Right.
you're trying to lose weight, because it's so important. There's so many processes in the body that
Mm-hmm.
require it. And on a general scale, there are a lot of people who don't get enough water, or they don't even realize that, hey, I didn't even have my water today. They kind of substitute going, oh, I have a tea or I have a coffee. Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
has water in it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a substitute for having water, pure
Mm-hmm.
water. Water is your friend, has 0 calories, is important in the body, and just, keeps you awake, gives you that little kick in the morning, especially. For my clients, I recommend first thing in the morning having a glass of water. It'll wake the system up because I know the feeling of you're up, but you feel like if I hit the bed, I would be back to bed in like 2 seconds flat. I
Mm-hmm.
recommend having a glass of water helps begin the flushing of the system and
Mm-hmm.
gets you started off to a positive day and also helps with keeping water intake up.
Mm-hmm. Because um what percentage of the human body is water?
Generally, it's said it's 75%. Uh,
75.
Now, when people go 75%, I don't see that. It's because so much water is involved in like your plasma, your blood, cells, the muscles. And it's not just free floating. It's like if you cut yourself, you're not going to just have like the ocean flow out of you. But so many parts of the body consist of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's such a vital thing. That's why, as humans, we always want to find food, water, and shelter because they're so important and such an important dynamic of health and survival.
So I didn't prepare you for this on my show. I usually ask my guests 7 questions. I call it the sequence 7. Okay,
Okay.
are you ready for them? Okay, it's got to be the first thing that comes to your mind, and then boom, we go to the next one. I've when I first started this, some people just wanted to elaborate on every answer, but just try to keep it short. Okay. Number one, what is your favorite animal?
Probably an otter.
You, okay,
Do you want me to
I'll
explain? Do you
talk
want
about
me to
that.
explain why?
Yeah, yeah. Now I want to know
Okay.
why.
Okay. So I'm from the otter clan. That's why, and I feel that it's important to not only respect animals, but I feel it's one of my
Mhm.
cute little animals. It's cute. It's friendly. It's so awesome, and it also has like indigenous connection to where I'm from, the clan I'm part of, and so it's awesome that way.
I
Nothing super
had
cool,
Yeah, one of my previous guests, Kelly Chinchilla, her favorite animal was the otter as well.
but oh,
What's your
good.
favorite
I'm proud
workout
of
song?
that. Oh, man, that's actually tough. I'm one of those things is I don't think I have like necessarily a favorite song, but I'm very very much into the 80s music. So like the late disco to like glam metal. Yeah, totally kind of throws it off track for a lot of people going, that's what you listen to. But it just, gets me pumped up, gets me prepared, and, gets me motivated. So that's what I listen to, kind of a playlist of 80s music.
What is your favorite Anishinaabe word?
I would just say hello. And I say that because it's simple but it's so important. It has so much power to it. And you think because no matter what conversation you have, generally in any language, it starts with hello. And it's how you open up the conversation, allow it to be respectful. It carries so much respect to not just start a conversation, but to acknowledge someone else. And yeah, I just feel it's really important to not only respect yourself, but respect others. It goes back to the simple principle treat others the way you want to be treated and yeah, that's just kind of my reason why I feel that's the word I would choose.
Right? The Anishinaabe people just to the east of me, I worked in their community, so I learned that Anin Zigwa.
Hmm.
Anin Zigwa.
Okay.
So it might be the same over where you're at. And I always say that the way you say your indigenous words and your indigenous language actually is telling us about the land that you were coming from. So I just thought I would share that. Question
Oh,
4. What occupation would you not what occupation would you not like to attend?
uh, I would say doctor, and the reason I say that is not to talk down to doctors or any sort at all. Um, but I feel it's not just that they don't know what they're doing necessarily. Like they have their book smarts 100%. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much one-to-one connection person, and I feel in today's society that the doctor is so far removed from the patient, it's wham bam done to the next. And for me, why I really base it on when we have our call with new clients to really connect with them, because that is so important. Not only do you need to know what you're doing, but you also need to connect with the person and really kind of convey and show them that yeah, your opinion, where you come from, who you are matters. And that's what I feel in today's society. Doctors really kind of are away from in a sense. They're busy
Mm-hmm.
people. I totally get it. Um, but it to me personally doesn't make it okay that you're less engaged with your patients or people you see. Personally, I don't want to offend any
Awesome.
doctors. I got to say that right now.
Doctors, we love you still. But no, that's awesome. The next question: who influences you most in the fitness world?
Well, it's gonna go back, and he originated from Austria, came all the way to the U.S. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was a huge inspiration when I was like 14. You know, and it's not necessarily just because he's got muscles. It was his drive, his mindset that really kind of attracted me to it, and kind of where I've tried to build mine around the same idea is it doesn't matter what people tell you, it's how you tell yourself, how you see yourself, your mindset. Do you want to accomplish something? Are you going to allow other people to tell you that you can't accomplish it? Because there will people get in the way and say, no, you can't accomplish that, you can't do that, or you won't ever, own your own business, or be happy. There will people who tell you wrong no matter what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
you got to realize that you're in sole control of what you do and how you do it. Yeah, my cat's saying a little hi. He likes to be
Oh.
part of it.
Mike,
Um,
okay, so this is a green screen and my cat plays it, jumps all over it when I'm trying to set it up. So I
that's
love the
awesome.
cats. They're actually our cat. We got it at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's just it's done so much for our mental health in my home. Well, I love cats now.
Yeah, no, totally. But
Next
yeah, he was
question. This
kind
is
of.
question 6. Who? Go ahead. Question. The next question. Who is your favorite
Sorry, yeah,
teacher?
my favorite teacher. Okay, uh, I would probably have to go back to my elementary school days. Miss Lavalley is her name. The reason being is she was an indigenous teacher, and so much, very much of a connection, just to understand where I was coming from, to be a support, to the know that if I ever had any questions or any difficulties, that I could reach out and ask. Obviously, as
Mm-hmm.
you grow up, the people who you surround yourself with kind of also at this extension shape who you become, and I feel that was so influential. But a lot of people go, "Oh well, I didn't really remember her because she was back when I was in elementary." But yeah, that was my favorite teacher because she just showed me that we can do great things, and she kind of helped facilitate and push to learn more and more about my culture, and to never ever see yourself in a negative light.
Mm-hmm. Final question. Do you listen to podcasts? And if so, what podcast do you listen to?
Okay, so I do listen to podcasts. Um, and not necessarily by name, but the most recent one I've been listening to is Jordan Belfort. So he's well known for the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. I don't recommend any of the legal stuff that he got himself into.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, he was a very driven individual in the sense that he knew what he wanted and he was the best at it. And that's kind of what I want to be, to continue to learn, to continue to excel, to continue to help, but to always, always be the best I can be as a human being, as a business owner, and as a coach, to just continue to, help others, but never ever kind of, I guess, in a sense, settle.
Mm-hmm.
Always shoot for your dreams and go after them. You may not get them the first try, but just continue to try. Good things will happen.
Awesome. So I really enjoyed your visit with us here and enlightening us in the podcast world. My friends and followers in the prairie provinces. Coach Evan, do you have any words of inspiration for the people out there who are thinking, they're sitting in their homes right now and thinking, I should get more active? Do you have words for those people?
Words of inspiration is it comes down to taking action. And I say that, matter of factly because it's so important. People, and myself included, before I started my business, before I took the leap to become a coach, do all of the courses and everything needed to do it, it always was an idea. I want to be in control, do what I love and be able to help people. But really, it may sound a little straight and cutting edge, but people talk the talk and have great ideas, but ideas don't really get you anywhere if you're not willing to take action. And kind of prime example with my business, I've had coaches, I've had mentors, I still do to this day. But the simple thing is, I wouldn't be where I am sitting right now on this podcast with you, with my mentors, with opportunities I have in front of me, if I didn't take action like over a year ago and start my business and just say, I will learn along the way. I
Mm-hmm.
understand the basics, but I don't know everything. And to this day, I don't know everything. But to take action, get started. If it means, getting off your butt out of the chair and turning off Netflix and going for a walk, do it. Because not only will you feel,
Mm-hmm.
accomplished for the day, but you'll also know that, yeah, you can do it. It's, as simple as turning off Netflix, getting up, getting on the boots, getting on the shoes, whatever it may be, and going for a walk. Because that right there will be that initial starting shooting off point. And once you've accomplished that, anything is accomplishable. You just have to do what needs to be done, taking action to make it happen. I know. I'm not some guru with some big thing. I just keep it simple and what's worked for me. And I hope that uh, if anyone's listening or watches this at some point, that they, take action from what I've said and actually start going for walks or getting up, walking the stairs instead of the elevator. You know, begin reading the packages that they
Mm-hmm.
have in their kitchen, or going to the grocery store, looking at what's in the grocery aisle. What do they want to accomplish? Are they helping themselves, or are they just staying with the same habits that haven't been helping them, or what's getting them stuck, or making them unhappy? And if I can help in any way, just if they listen to this podcast, you don't need to reach out to me. You just listen and take action in any form of that essence of just what I mentioned, then that's a win, because that's my goal, to be an advocate, help people, and really just share my experience. Because end of the day, I'm a human being just like everyone else. I'm not special. So
www.nishbod.com if you want to look at Coach Evans' website. Coach Evan Anytime Fitness on Facebook. Thank you, Coach Evan, for spending time with us here today.
yeah, of course, I once again, I know I've said it to you a couple times, but I'm just me. I'm not popular. I'm not huge, and I just want to thank you, Shima Butch, Ojibwe, for having me on your show to just share who I am, what I do, and what I've done to get to where I am today. Hopes that I inspire someone. So once again, thank you very much, and I hope to be in contact to just continue that relationship, to continue to grow as your podcast. I would love to support, share it myself, but I will be listening to future podcasts from you just to continue to be a supporter.
Thank you. Like, share, follow Spring Spirit Podcast, and check out nishbod.com.